There has been a claim made online that Jewish Yale students are not allowed to freely walk around campus, as they have apparently been blocked by pro-Palestinian protesters.
We will not stop, we will not rest, disclose, divest. We will not stop, we will not rest, disclose, divest. We will not stop, we will not rest, disclose, divest. We will not stop, we will not rest, disclose, divest. We will not stop, we will not rest, disclose,
our campus, public space.
We will not stop,
He can only go around.
It's a public campus. You don't own this. I pay for this, just like you. I'm a Yale student. I pay tuition. This is my space too. I want to walk through.
The people united will never be
Are you going to get out of my way? Can I walk through?
united will never be
Why can you guys sit here? I can't.
united.
Why can't I go through? Why can't I go through?
The people
I
united
can walk through. Why can't I be walk through?
the people united will never be defeated.
Why can't anybody else walk through?
United will never be defeated.
Hello?
The people united will never be defeated.
I mean, I feel like the video kind of debunks itself, right? There is a protest going on. Of course, you just can't walk straight through it, but you can go around it. I mean, it's a tactic to break up a protest. Now, the person in the video does claim that the protesters allowed other people through, which, we can't verify with the video. This is, I guess, supposedly evidence of antisemitism. But we found this. Literally him, moments later inside the encampment. He is a known counter-protester who was at every single rally. It has absolutely nothing to do with him being Jewish. He got thrown out of an event for doxing non-Zionist Jewish students. So if you are there specifically to agitate a protest against genocide, I'm sorry, that is a normal response. Now, Cassie Akiva, a journalist from the right-wing outlet Daily Wire, made a claim that Jewish students were being shouted at for simply listening to a lecture at the same university.
To the sea, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
Palestine will be free. Shame!
Now, that would be awful, right? Jewish students facing harassment. Well, what Cassie conveniently missed out is that the lecture was being given by Ben Gvir, the far-right Israeli politician who was serving as Minister for National Security. Now, what kind of man is he? Well, he has been shaped by the extremist ideology of Mir Kahane, joined the KAK party before its terror designation, and has defended Lahava, a violent anti-Arab group known for incitement and hate marches. Lahava is a racist, anti-miscegenation group that demands the expulsion of Palestinians, the banning of Christmas, and considers church sites of idol worship. Ben Gvir's rejection of peace with Palestinians is reflected in his open hostility towards Yitzhak Rabin, whom he mocked before Rabin's assassination and later harassed the former Prime Minister's granddaughter. A resurfaced photo showed Ben Gvir holding an emblem from Rabin's car, boasting at the time, "We got to his car, and we get to him too." Now, Israeli media reported that he called on the army to shoot Palestinian women and children in Gaza during a meeting. That's the kind of man Ben Gvir is. Sarah, the US has, of course, used tactics to silence pro-Palestinian voices, especially students. The Trump administration has deported people. An effective tool we've seen from Zionists for years is to smear them as anti-Semitic, and this is once again another example of it.
It's not a new tactic, is it? It's a deliberate strategy that goes back decades. The conflation of anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism, I think, has been weaponized to silence critique, and it kind of links quite nicely to our previous story, but also so relevant in this one. But this doesn't actually protect Jewish people at all as well. And I think that gets forgotten about, that every single time they attempt to silence any sort of critique about what's going on over there, or calling out Zionism, that you're actually harming Jewish people in the process. I think even if we go to the IHRA, the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, they do define anti-Semitism, and it has been adopted by obviously countless institutions worldwide. But it is somewhat vague in a way, and it does include examples like, you claim the existence of the State of Israel as a racist endeavor. Well, that's a historical analysis. Like, let's be real. Israel was literally founded through ethnic cleansing, and today it operates an apartheid regime. That is a fact. Saying that isn't hate, it is a fact. And in the US, obviously, we've seen pro-Palestinian professors be surveyed, be fired, be forced out of jobs. Students have been blacklisted, and groups like the Canary Mission have maintained like literal dossiers on like activists, especially those who are Muslims, Jewish people, and people of color. So this isn't about Jewish safety; it's about like crushing any sort of like dissent. And the CST, like as you mentioned, excuse me, openly says that their goal is to oppose anti-Zionist activity. But oh my God, what's wrong with me? But I'm moving like you. But but imagine if an organization said their mission was to oppose anti-capitalist activity. I think we'd call that authoritarian, or some people might call it authoritarian. But when it's about Palestine, suddenly it's security. And I find that verbiage is quite interesting. So I think we need to be crystal clear here that real anti-Semitism is rising. I recognize that, and it must be opposed. But when Zionist institutions use it to silence Jewish anti-Zionists or Palestinians fighting for their lives, or anyone who attempts to speak out about freeing Palestine and calling out the genocide, it's not just dishonest, it's dangerous, because when everything is anti-Semitism, essentially nothing is at that point. I don't know if that makes me seem a bit rude in saying that, but I do think if you're constantly trying to label things as anti-Semitic, when people are literally trying to call out an apartheid regime, then I don't know if that actually holds much weight.
No, I agree, completely agree, actually, because it's like, I've said this term before, it's like the boy who cries wolf. The problem is, when you do label things that aren't anti-Semitic, people are going to turn around and say, nothing is anti-Semitic. And then when there are genuine cases of anti-Semitism, more and more people are going to ignore it, which is why false cases and smears of anti-Semitism, you're absolutely right, it hurts Jewish people, because it creates a culture of what is anti-Semitic and what isn't anti-Semitic. And also, there's been so much anti-Semitic smears leveled at Jewish people. Now, there's two things I want to pick up on, actually. I mean, you mentioned the IHRA, which was the definitions of anti-Semitism was kind of a thorn in Labour's side. This was during the height of the sort of anti-Semitism crisis. And Labour under Jeremy Corbyn were like, we don't want to adopt all the definitions from the IHRA, which is true, because one of them was, if you call Israel a racist endeavor, that can be seen as anti-Semitic, which is wild. Calling something racist doesn't make you a racist. And also, there are Palestinians, or many of them are probably left now, but under Jeremy Corbyn, there were many Palestinians in the party. What does that say to them? That they don't have any freedom of expression? The fact that their entire families have been wiped out after 75 years, and they're not allowed to call Israel racist, is wild.
It's so weird, and that's the kicker, isn't it? Like they do it in the name of anti-racism or whatever, whilst actively defending a settler colonial project that's murdering children. Like, make it make sense. I think we have to reject that sort of manipulation outright and be open in doing that. And like I said, not just because it's dishonest, but because it puts people at risk. It's putting those who exist in Gaza and Palestine at risk. It's putting Jewish people at risk, because when anti-Semitism is reduced to simply just a political weapon, real acts of hatred get buried under the noise. And that's what I don't want to happen to the Jewish community. And I don't want that to happen to those who are actually speaking out about the genocide that's happening. All of us are speaking about the genocide that's happening. I will call it out again and again and again. And I have no shame in doing that. But let's be clear, Jewish safety and Palestinian freedom are not mutually exclusive. The people telling you otherwise aren't fighting hate. They're literally just attempting to defend empire. So, like, I need people to wake up a little bit. Like, I'm tired of these falsehoods, because they're not a mistake. I think these are deliberate attempts to conflate criticism of Israel with anti-Semitism, and to paint student solidarity with Palestine as a form of hate. That guy could have literally just walked around, lest we forget. He could have just walked around. He decided not to.
Support independent media. Support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you. Turn left.